Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for everyone to filter in, but we're going to go ahead and get started because we know that your time is precious. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Andrea Gallagher, co-founder of the Pipe Hitter Foundation.
Eddie, her husband, also a co-founder.
Yes. And we just want to thank you guys so much for taking time. And we're really excited. This is the 5-year mark for us of the nonprofit. And so this is just a chance for us to connect, talk with you guys about some of the questions that have been submitted, and just say thank you really for all of the amazing support and what we're excited for in 2026.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're going to just go ahead and we're going to do some of these questions so that we can
Are they talking to us?
no, the questions have been submitted, so we're gonna
I gotcha.
so besides well, this might you can answer this too, but I'll answer this. So besides Eddie's long ordeal, which has been the most difficult situation to remedy with our cases?
I think, I mean, each case comes with its own problem sets, and each one has to be handled a little bit differently. But I think the one that comes to mind that was probably the most stress related and problematic was when we helped out Lieutenant Stu Scheller, who spoke
Mhm.
out, rightly so, against the Afghan withdrawal when that happened, and he did it in uniform. So we had reached out to him right away because we knew that
Mhm.
the government was going to come after him for doing so. And, we took him on board and started our campaign. But during that time, he was going through a very stressful time. The Marine Corps was coming after him, the government was coming after him, so he was not in the best place. So it was a little bit, and it was really one of our first cases to handle something this big and this stressful for an individual. So we really had to get in line with mentoring him into doing the right things, and sometimes he wouldn't listen, so the problems would compound. But in the end, we did. It was
Mhm.
victorious, and we were glad that we went through all of that stuff with him because it was worth it, and we learned a lot during the process.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of the cases, what we try to focus on is that we are dealing with people at the hardest point of their life. So we don't take, some of the emotions and energy that comes around these things is because they are in these horrific situations. So we do try to be sympathetic. It does make our job harder, but that is something I think with our personal experience, we know that level of stress and
Yes, and then not, and not just to put the blame all on, helping him and all the problems he was having, but anytime you're going against the United States
Mhm.
military and trying to point out the wrongs that they're doing, I can tell you,
Yeah.
they will continue to be wrong until they are forced to admit that they were wrong,
Yeah.
and that is a long process, and so you really have to have your wits about you, and also exercise what I call tactical patience and not get too frustrated at the fact that things aren't moving as quickly as you would like them to.
Yeah. And I mean, and we're here to advise, assist, and support, and we're coordinating a lot of things for them, but they are still, an autonomous person having the ability to do and say things. And so we can tell someone, don't do this, don't say that. We wouldn't advise that. But at the end of the day, it is up to them.
Yes.
And we faced a lot of man hours, and we're a very light nonprofit. We don't have employees. So we spent tens of hundreds of hours doing damage control based on some of the things that came out of that case. But at the end of the day, it was successful.
Every hour
We
was worth it.
persevered.
Yes.
So that was a great question. Thank you for that question. Okay, so what do you attribute the seemingly increasing number of cases that are mishandled? Either initially or during the legal process, what has inspired you to take action? And I guess this could be, maybe some of this is related to the political environment, or what is your thought about why are we still doing this 5 years later? And
I could say that a large majority is politics. Politics plays a huge role in these cases a lot of times, and which is why you have these DAs or in the military, these high-ranking individuals making these wrong decisions because they're doing them for political gain of some sort. So you are
Mhm.
battling that most of the time, and really when it comes down to is why these choices are made and why these individuals who raise their right hand to protect their communities or their country are targeted, is because it comes down to a lot of the times bad leadership, ego, and just always a hint of narcissism in there, just when dealing with certain individuals. But I would say that, yeah, politics plays a huge role in why these decisions are made, and why we have to consistently get involved and help these individuals get out of the situations that they're in.
Yeah, for basically for doing their jobs. Um, and then would you guys consider hosting a pipe hitter 5K? It might be a great way to raise money. We have talked about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be down to do that. A 5K or just some sort of fitness type event that would raise money. Yes, I just think we need to plan it and set a date for it.
Yeah.
But maybe in 2027.
Maybe. Yeah. We are working on a lot of events for 2026. So we'll talk about that kind of when we wrap up. But yeah, we're both passionate about stuff like that. And we've definitely considered it. It's always interesting when you're trying to formulate ways to tie things into the nonprofit and make it a community driven experience. I think that could be a good way to do it, but we just haven't gotten there yet. But
no, it's a very with our nonprofit, it's a lot different than other nonprofits just because of the avenue that we're in, and we're filling a small piece of the pie that's needed now. And I think it just takes time for people to understand why our nonprofit exists and the importance of it. And I think over the years we've been consistent with our message, and we really haven't had a lot of large gatherings or done a lot of large fundraisers. A lot of it has been organic. But as the years go on, I think the word is spreading on what our nonprofit does, and we still get a lot of support. A lot of new supporters come on. So I think in the near future we can start putting on a lot of events that can fundraise and also bring people together as a community and do something fun like a 5K or
yeah. And I think one of the main reasons when Eddie went through everything that he went through, we were involved in it through 2019. Then he actually wasn't even released or exited the military until December of that year. And then, of course, everything hit during COVID. So when we applied for the tax nonprofit status, we didn't get that approved until April of 2020. So the reason that our foundation was birthed out of this kind of chaos, and then we didn't have the option to host events, so we really quickly utilized the same skills and the same rhythm of sharing through online social media, advocating through channels. We now have a lot of emphasis on social media because the mainstream media has been so parceled in so many ways. It's very hard to get attention on the cases in that regard. So yeah, I think we've done a good job, but yeah, we like to keep it simple.
Yes.
We don't like to but we don't like to waste people's money on big events and extravagant things. We want to keep the dollars going to the families. We're very proud of the way that we use our money to give back to the families. So we don't need any more attention. We got plenty of attention during your trial, but we do appreciate the support and the continued support that everyone gives us. But does Pipe Hitter Foundation evaluate and decide which cases to take on?
Yes, we do. And that is a very important step in our process. So at least once, sometimes twice a month, we have a board meetings where we review all the cases that have come in. Dina, our executive director, who is amazing, will sort all the cases out. She'll usually send them out in an email to each one of the board members to review. And then when we get together on a Zoom call, we will go over such cases and decide which ones we want to support or not. And a lot of the times, our main pillar is supporting those who are being wronged or targeted for doing what they were trained to do. That means doing whatever job that they're in, they are being targeted for doing that job to the letter of the law. And so what we get a lot of the times are cases that have to deal with domestic violence or domestic disputes or pay issues in the military. And so we really have to sift through those because those aren't in our wheelhouse. We don't, I hope those people do get the help that they need, but that is not what we do. So that is one of the reasons why we have those meetings to sift through those cases. And then a lot of the times we have to review cases that we want to possibly take on or
Mhm.
deny. And I can tell you that that is not a simple process. A lot of the times it's, we see camera footage
Mhm.
of the cases that are presented to us, and I can tell you we've denied some cases, in fact, because we do have law enforcement on our board, and
Mhm.
we all agree like, hey, this person was in the wrong all day long. Or on the other hand, we can review and be like, nope, this person was in the right, and so we will jump on
Yeah.
board. But we have members from law enforcement, different
Mhm.
branches of the military on there, so it's great that we have just a collective of knowledge and experience on both ends that we can all come together and decide which cases to take on and which not to.
Yeah. So, like administratively, the way that the workflow is, there's always applications that are incoming. We have an application portal on our website. You apply through that. Typically, it's either the service member or law enforcement officer that's in need. But if someone is incarcerated, for instance, it could be a family member, a loved one, or spouse that's trying to advocate for them. So when those come in, they get reviewed by our executive director. They then, if they make that cut, they then get put in front of our board of directors. And as Eddie said, it's a painstaking process. And I mean, it's not quick. We go through a lot of avenues and channels to vet and ensure. We talk to the legal counsel if they have him, family members. We get, firsthand accounts, look over a lot of information because it really is a big undertaking to get involved in
Yeah.
these cases. And we know that people are trusting us to do the due diligence to ensure that none of these things that are getting through are something that our base would not want to support. So, to Eddie's point, we do sometimes have to take a critical eye, evaluate different things, and say, this person, although they are law enforcement, there might have been something that, or a service member, or might have been something that we don't think that our donors and the people that support us would be able to get behind. So that's one of the harder parts, I think, because
And
there's a lot of people that need help.
yeah,
But
and also sometimes, and this is the word we put out, especially to law enforcement officers, is we'll get applications
mhm,
where these individuals are well into the process
yeah,
already and already getting screwed over. So at that point, we still will take them on, but that now becomes an
yeah,
advisory issue. Like, okay, what is going on? Why are you in this predicament? And you're well into the system already. And a lot of the times it's due to their lawyers. They
mhm,
have bad lawyers, they're getting bad advice. So we also have advisors that are not on our board that we turn to in these situations, and will get certain questions answered as far as like what the person's legal team is doing. And a lot of the
right,
times, I'll tell you, is our advice to them is get new lawyers. They don't have your best interest at heart, but once again, we don't dictate that. We don't mandate
mhm,
anything. This is just advice that we give, and they can take it or leave it.
yeah. So how do you hope that Pipe Hitter Foundation will grow in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years. Well, an honest answer would be I hope we don't exist in 5 years. That I hope everybody gets the justice that they deserve, but
Mhm,
I think that's a pipe dream. I just hope that, through our nonprofit, we're able to keep a steady fund going. That way, anybody that we do help, we can automatically give them emergency relief grants, put them at
mhm,
ease right off the bat, and then start coming up with a plan to campaign for them and get them the justice they deserve. I think that, I don't, we don't have any aspirations to like be this massive mega
mhm,
nonprofit and do all these things. I think we like where we're at right now. Obviously, the one thing that we are always needing is money to give to
mhm.
to the people that we take on. But that's about where I see us at.
Yeah.
I hope that maybe we'll be able to take on more cases than we do. Maybe get
Mhm.
some more members on the board, and you know hopefully make it a little bit more fluid.
Yeah. Yeah. So also, I think it's worth just bringing up. We the way that the nonprofit has chosen to operate is that if we take on a case, we are basically running a full scale campaign. So we're advocating politically. We might be going to Capitol Hill. We might be trying to make inroads with people politically that can make changes. We are, having a lot of the funding that comes in through these campaigns goes to pay family expenses, hardships, things of that nature. But then we're also funding all of the ability to send out email marketing, social media content, and working together really to galvanize and continue moving forward to highlight why this injustice is happening, put it in plain English so that a lot of times what we see is that these cases will continue to get pushed out. We have so many that are that way. And if you do not continue to raise the voice of, the public, a lot of things can go, and get swept under the rug. And these families are sometimes dealing with these things for, it can be years. So I think that we talk about it a lot as a nonprofit. When we choose to take a campaign on, that's a big undertaking, and that could be years. But one of the things that Eddie alluded to is we would love to have more available funds or money in the overall pot, not the individual pots that we create when we take on these individuals, but that we could have emergency relief grants that would be more accessible, having more funds in our I guess, general funding, that then we would be able to say, okay, this is clearly a hardship. This is clearly within the realm of, our scope of what we do. It might not be the best fit to take on and run a full scale campaign with, but we could give, money for hardship related things to the family, the children, and things of that nature. So that's kind of just a glimpse into where the funds go, because I think there's some nuance there, and it's not as easy as it seems to just
Well, I think that rolls into this next question here, which I'll let you start off with, is when families come to Pipe Hitter Foundation during one of the hardest seasons of their lives, what does meaningful support look like beyond financial assistance?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. We get so ingrained. It's like you could bring tears to my eyes, but it's like these families are in the most traumatic situations, usually of their lives. They have been doing this or are poised to be doing it for years. The wheels of justice move very slowly. So we are constantly in communication with them. Our executive director, Dina Cruden, she just does an amazing job of keeping up with the families, learning about what the hardships are. A lot of times these people are sidelined from their jobs. They're sidelined from making any income. Even if they're not incarcerated, they are awaiting trial that sometimes gets pushed out, 3 months, 6 months, a year. So if you think about the level of the primary breadwinner being put in a situation for anywhere from 6 months to 3-4 years, we've seen that happen. It's a devastating thing. So a lot of it is our emotional support, our advice, our advocacy, letting them know that we're there for them, just being a sounding board, because we know how that feels. They might have had a lot of support at the beginning of this trial or tribulation, but then people fall off. People get sick of hearing about it. And it's unfortunate, and it sounds a little harsh to say that, but that's the truth. And we can tell them that that's not unusual. It happens. And that, us being there and walking alongside of these families, I think we can both attest when we talk to them. That's one of the biggest things. I mean, of course, the money is critical, but I think it's really that we're there for them and that we know, and they can talk to us about things that they can't talk about with anyone else because we've been through it.
Yeah, I mean, so the money, the financial aspect is a very critical part, right? Because as we've said since our whole ordeal, the only rights that you have are the ones that you can afford. So obviously, they need the money to have a good lawyer to defend themselves. But I can tell you what's even more important than that is the back end mentorship that happens, because like Andrea stated that we've been through this already. Mm-hmm. So when individuals are going through this for the first time, they quickly learn that people back away from them. Mm-hmm. Their friends who they thought they were their friends back away from them, and not out of spite, but because out of fear, because they're like, if this can happen to you, then mm-hmm. this can probably happen to me. So I'm going to stay silent. A lot of the times Andrea will end up talking to the spouse of the individual. And what I really like is she sets the example, and she did set the example in our case. And she's able to continue to do so to inspire that individual to get up and fight for their spouse, mm-hmm. to talk out, to speak out, to advocate for them. And then on the other side of that, I'm able to talk to the individual who is being wrongly persecuted and sort of, go through, relate to them
Mhm.
on what they're going through. Because believe it or not, especially with law enforcement and military, when your job or title is stripped away from you, even for a short amount of time, everything that you worked
Right.
for in your life is now stripped of you. Your identity is stripped of you. That can be very hard on an individual. That
Mhm.
you can go to some dark places. So being able to talk to those people and try to get them through it, sort of guide them through, give them the mental perseverance that they need. Not only the mental perseverance, but the spiritual perseverance as well,
Mhm.
because that is a huge factor on why we made it through. And they don't have to be believers or anything like
Mhm.
that, but I still insist on telling them like, hey, you need to turn to God or turn to whatever that you believe in,
Mhm.
and because a lot of the things are out of your control at this point. We as a foundation are going to do everything that we can to help you, but just realize there are some things that are not in your control, and you have to pray about it, and more just to get them at a level of peace.
Yeah.
And that's where we talk to these people multiple times because it's an emotional roller coaster. There's the highest
Mhm.
of highs and the lowest of lows, and that can go for years, and that can take a toll on an
Yeah.
individual and a couple together. So I think that is one of the most important things that we are able to do when we're helping people out.
Yeah. And the extended family usually gets involved too in a lot of these
Yes.
cases. So, um,
uh,
we're
what key lessons have you learned from running Pipe Hitter Foundation these past 5 years?
Well, I just think we've continued to galvanize the process that we employed with Eddie. We have continued to face the shifting sands of, again, the big challenge for us with like the media has just radically changed so much. The mainstream media has now been compartmentalized into a lot of different factions. And so, where we used to get a lot of value out of having a PR company, we made the very big decision that we couldn't be designating money to that because the output of it was not galvanizing anything. It wasn't any return. So we really carefully scrutinize every penny, every dollar that comes in. There is zero waste. We only have the focus on the families, getting them as much money as they can, and then obviously just keeping our general fund healthy so that we can remain stable and be able to be here to support people. But I think that that's what I would say is a big learning curve for us is the ever-changing environment of how we continue to educate, advocate, and move these cases forward. A lot of people have utilized our system, and we have seen an amazing result. We have a very good rate of success when we do take on a case. But everyone's different, really,
Yeah.
because it's a different family, it's a different case, it's a different climate. We have a lot of law enforcement right now. We used to have more service members. Like, there's just
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah, I think the big thing is adaptability, being able to adapt to the ever-changing environment. As you guys know, technology is consistently advancing a
Mhm.
lot faster than we can actually process it. So, really paying attention to that and paying attention to how we get the word out, how we advocate for
Mhm.
these individuals, whether it be through social media, the mainstream media,
Mhm.
podcasts, stuff like that, and actually knowing how to combat those type of
Right.
individuals as well, those entities. So obviously, we know the mainstream media does not tell the whole truth. They like to leave context out of it. So we are
Mhm.
able to adapt to these things and actually add context in and add other media outlets that matter and what will get the word out there. And that is ever changing because believe it or not, the mainstream media is also adapting as well, trying to
Mhm.
continue their fake narrative, and they'll find ways to continue to push their fake narrative. So it's I coming from my background as a SEAL, it's like I
Mhm.
always look at it in a tactical way, and it's just the enemy is constantly ever changing and adapting, and so are we, and so we need to continue to do that as we grow.
Yeah. Why is community support so important to the families that PHF helps?
What it's I think it's one of the most important things, and I can tell you that through my experience, um, just seeing the amount of people
Mhm.
that were in support that my wife had garnered through starting her social media, organic social media campaign. Because I can tell you, most people, like most guys and women who raise their right hand and do the job, they're not doing it for recognition. They're not doing it, for the thanks. They're doing it because they love what they do. They love the purpose of what they do, and I don't think they would ever go out and try and get recognition for it. But when you are put in a position like this, the recognition for what they do is important. Knowing that people have their backs, knowing that people are supporting them, because a lot of the times when they're going through this, all they're seeing is clips from the media, which are usually negative, which are painting those people in a bad light, which can cause somebody to start thinking negatively about their situation and about themselves, even though they might be in the right. So having the ability to see their community get behind them, just not even just their community, people from all over the country get behind them, advocate for them, share, what's going on with them, is a huge uplift for those people. And knowing that, okay, people do have my back and people do appreciate what I do.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for sure. What is one story or a moment from the past year that really captures why this work matters and keeps you going, even when it's heavy? Oh, I have a good one. Okay, so we really early on in the foundation, when we had started, we had a couple that was a police officer in San Diego. And every year we get a Christmas card. And this year they added to their family. And recently online, one of our, actually a hero from our case, our good friend Gio, who was a part of our case, he was very active in the police and law enforcement community there. So when he knew that we were behind this couple, Matthew and Christina Degas, he took a really special interest. He became really good friends, and it's unfortunate, but he did end up taking his life. He had some struggles after he got out of the military service, and the Degas family just named their second child, their little boy, after him, Gio. So I could cry. It's like, it really is a family. Like the way that we get so close to these people, and again, through the hardest time in their lives, I think it's just like really moving. And when I saw that, I was like, that's just so sweet.
Yeah, I'm holding it back right now.
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to bring that up, but it's like, I think that people don't understand that, everyone wants a happy life. Everyone wants healthy kids and nothing bad to happen, but you really see the true nature and colors of people when you are at your worst. And we saw that personally. And Gio was one of those people for us. And he turned into one of those people for the Degas family. And I just think, what better way to just memorialize the effort that he put in, not only for us, but for them. And it is really something that, those people that you meet, it's like a once in a lifetime thing, where when you're at your lowest, you meet someone that's willing to walk alongside of you and that's not overwhelmed or burdened by it, but they're energized by it. And they understand that they're being called to help you. And that's why we just love this nonprofit. And we love that the work that we do is affecting people. We talk about it a lot. We're like, I feel like people get compassion fatigue because we're always talking about these negative things that happen. But the heart of the nonprofit is so driven by the love and the compassion and the support for people that are in these, difficult and negative times.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick out and just label one case that's like, hey, this one really stuck out. Obviously, we had Mike and Martha, who just, he just recently, he was let out of prison. He's getting exonerated of everything, which is a huge victory for everybody. And that was a long battle. I can think of one right now. A man that we're currently supporting is Sal Aldretti. We had his parents down here not too long ago on the podcast. We got to meet them, and I love just sitting back and watching, individuals like Sal's mom, who is just a firecracker and out there just fighting on the front lines for her son, like we talked about, out of pure love. But to me, it's awesome to see that, and to see like that what Andrea did for me has inspired others to do the same. I don't know if these individuals would be as aggressive in advocating for their people if they hadn't seen what Andrea had done. And I'm not saying they wouldn't, But from my eyes, it's just, because I love my wife so much and I'm so proud of her, I get to see, I get to see how she's inspired others to fight just like she did for me. And that's, to me, that's huge.
There's, there's our cue. There's our French bulldogs. We knew that this was going to happen. Okay, so we're going to start to wrap it up. Let's see. Why is exposure sometimes just as critical as financial or legal support for these families? And we can kind of wrap it up on this, and then we can talk about 2026.
Exposure, because a lot of the times, if you don't see it, you don't know about it. If you don't hear about it, you don't care about it. And which is why we ask constantly when we do these posts that people share them, spread the word. Which is why we take time out to go on different podcasts to talk about the individuals that we're supporting, because it's very easy, especially in this day and age with social media. You put a post out there and you're like, oh, everybody knows, and it's like, no, not. There's just a very few that follow you that know about it, and even out of that few, maybe half paid attention. So to staying consistent on making sure that we're getting the word out about these individuals that we're helping is huge, because we've seen it in the past too, where we'll post things or post podcast clips, and then they get shared hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, which is exactly what we want, because we want people to be involved. We want the country to be involved. This isn't something that should be just ignored. The more people that are, up in arms about the injustices that are going on, that is how you pressure the government to do the right thing.
Right.
Honestly, they will not do the right thing unless the American people scream loud enough and get in their ear enough that they're like, okay, finally, we'll do what we have to do.
Right. Yeah. So we really appreciate you guys joining us, tuning in. We're going to obviously send a replay. We know so many people throughout the country are literally without power, struggling, and the storms have been pretty brutal. So we will have this recorded and replayed throughout. Just to wrap it up, some of the things that we're looking forward to in 2026 that we kind of alluded to, we're going to be doing more events throughout the country. And we're looking right now, certain ones being scheduled on the East Coast, California, and again in Florida, where we will be putting on and hosting events. We would love for you to just continue to follow us on social media, email. And if you see that there is an event that's coming near your area, you want to volunteer, you want to get involved, we would just welcome that. Again, we're a very light, nimble nonprofit. We have little to no paid employees. We have independent contractors, but our board is fiduciary. So they're not, they give their time and energy, and they're not compensated for that. So everything that we do is really based on the level of involvement that we can get from the community, from our, people that graciously ask to host events for us. So just continue to look for updates on those. We'll obviously be taking on different cases and new cases in 2026. Some of them will be overlapping. Again, I know it sounds exhausting to say, okay, this has been going on for 2-3 years, but obviously think of the individuals who are experiencing that. And ours went on for years and years and years. And it really is something that we just continue to hope that you can support as we move forward. You have anything to say? Other than our dog is barking nonstop.
No, I really appreciate all of you that are on here taking the time to sit here and listen to me and Andrea run our mouths about the nonprofit. I can't thank you enough, and I always say it, I thank you for all the support, for all the donations, and just for the willingness to take the time to review people's stories and what they are going through. I know in this day and age, it's really hard to keep people's focus for more than 1 minute. So thank you again for taking the time to do this. And, we will continue to do exactly what we've been doing the past 5 years, which is fight for those who raise their right hand to serve this country or serve their communities and get them the justice that they need. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And please like, comment, share what you love about PHF, and continue to share it with your families.
One more thing. I always say this too: if you are friends, or if you're law enforcement, or if you're friends with law enforcement, please pass the word to them. tell them
Mhm.
that we exist, because I go around and train law enforcement throughout the country, and
Mhm.
I'm still surprised to this day that they have not heard of our foundation.
Right.
So I make sure to let them know to pass the word to their fellow officers, and I
Mhm.
also let them know if they have an inkling that they are going or they are
Mhm.
about to get screwed or get investigated, that just go on our site and fill out a grant. We don't do anything unless you give us permission to
Yeah.
do so, but if you fill out the grant early enough, that gives our board enough time to read over and review it and prep the campaign.
And it's service members, police, first responders is who we support. We're also supporting their families. That means, wives, husbands, children, in-laws, all of these people are a part of what we do to help and raise awareness and support. So if you have, as Eddie said, a service member or a law enforcement officer in need, direct them to Pipe Hitter Foundation. If we're not the best fit for them based on whatever situation that they're in, we will
Point them in the right
point
direction.
them in the right direction. We can't help everybody. We're not always the best fit for everybody, but if there's things that are going on in that realm, we're always happy to help in that way as well. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and God bless you guys.
God
Stay
bless.
warm. And thanks again for supporting Pipe Hitter Foundation. Bye.